All right, Craig, you got the new pad of paper. No intros this
Yeah.
time. Ed's
Craig, why
here.
did he have technical difficulties, dude? Come on.
Yeah. How dare you?
You've been an
Um,
intern for 6
Maybe if we
years, man.
maybe if we paid him better.
no,
That
no,
didn't
no.
help.
Hey, whoa. Paid?
Well,
Unpaid
well,
intern.
we'll double his salary. Nothing. Doubled his
Unpaid
nothing.
intern sounds so much better than slave.
Yeah, you know.
So we're the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. Chris, Dan, Jay. We're here with Ed Greenwood.
You forgot
Time
Christian.
for my questions.
Also,
Oh,
Oh,
not
you
Hi.
even.
forgot Christian. Don't forget Christian.
Who?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, the timing was beautiful. You guys have done this for a while, haven't you?
You know,
I'll remember that, Labels.
all right. So you have created many numerous influential NPCs: Mert, Volo, the Silver Hands, Elminster. Are you still in control of them at all in any
No.
capacity? No.
I get to write about them.
Mhm.
I get to portray them on occasion. I used to, in fact, I'm going to do it at Gen Con this year. It's not so much a wedding as it is a renewal of vows. And the
Mhm.
question will be, do you want Ed to do it or Elminster to do it? But for many years, TSR wanted me to put on the Elminster costume and portray Elminster. So I get to do that. And when I write novels, I at one point I was asked to put him in everything, no matter what, whether I wanted him to or not. And there's one famous novella thing for a computer game in which he's not in there, but the male lead and the female lead, the young Romeo and Juliet types, are having this heart-to-heart in a room and sobbing, "We can never be together," all this stuff. And when they leave the room, Poe-faced portrait of the ancestor that's on the wall changes to Elminster, winks at the viewer, and then turns back again, just to
my
put
God.
Elminster in the story. But no, I don't control them anymore. I try and put them in as much as possible. The voice actor they got to portray Elminster in Baldur's Gate 3 is, I think, one of the busiest voice actors going, and did a very good job. But I'm thinking, I would have done Elminster differently. You have to be English and get the idea of the slipping English accent. As in, I'm adopting an accent of a different class than I am from. So the accent is going to slip, like an American actor doing English accents, and the accent slips a bit now and then, and that's okay, because it's a put-on job. But now Elminster is obviously offering people cheeses everywhere, and that's nice. I like cheese. It no longer likes me, but I like it, so that's fine.
The reason I asked that question is the last time Mert was in a canon piece, he was the head principal of a Spelljammer college off the coast of Waterdeep. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very old. Gosh knows what it makes Elminster feel like. I know exactly what Mert would say if he would say, "Oh, are there school uniforms? Schoolgirls?" Which would be totally inappropriate for a published product, so we wouldn't do it. Just because that's what the character would do,
right?
And how it makes me feel is, I don't mind my characters surprising me. What I don't want them to do is to act so out of character as to be unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, when I was a teenager and wrote for Marvel Comics, one of the things you were supposed to not do is make an established character act out of character to make your plot work for your 2 or 3 issue arc. It was bad, lazy writing. Everybody had to behave as you expected them to be. Dr. Doom was always Dr. Doom.
Right.
He didn't go, I've always wanted to take up tap dancing. And do you know that underneath this armor I wear lingerie? You don't want to do that. You don't want to change the character. You can have the character grow and develop. That's just good writing. But have it happen in front of our eyes. Like, Victor Von Doom is no man's lackey, but what I have seen today makes me think I should make some new decisions about my life. That's happening in front of you. That's
Yeah.
not Dr. Doom does something crazy and out of character. And if writers do that, it jolts me out of the realms. It says, what is this?
Mhm.
But if it's a logical extension of the way the character is, I'm fine, because then it's a character living their life and I'm not pulling all the strings, which makes them way more fascinating and interesting to me than it's a marionette and I'm pulling all the strings to, hey, he walked and talked by himself. Uh-oh.
If it makes you feel better, Mert was, but when you encounter him in the school as part of the module, he is hungover, laying in his bed in his office, and there are a bunch of Neogi trying to attack him and kill him. And the player's supposed to get in there, and he's supposed to help, but he's still kind of hungover, and his pants are around his ankles, so all his attacks are at disadvantage. So I was just hoping you were good with that.
Casting, I hate that. No.
And I do have to apologize to you personally.
Uh-oh.
What have you done
So-
now?
Just a quick aside. I started playing D&D in 4th edition. That's when I actually got a chance to start breaking my teeth in it. So most of what I
Break my
most
teeth.
He said what he said.
I said what I said. in
I
4th
was
edition.
shaking my head in disapproval.
So I started with the points of light settings and did very little in the Forgotten Realms. But when I moved into 5th edition, I started just delving deep into the Forgotten Realms. And so I've been consuming everything I can because I like it a lot. These guys all hate it because they're all
No.
jaded, old men, and they don't like anything that's not Dragonlance or DCC.
Or
But
Dark Sun.
No. Forgotten Realms is actually the gray box set for 2nd edition. Is
I love
the
it.
first campaign setting I bought as a teenager when I was running D&D for my friends and in my high school chess club. That is the first thing I bought the first campaign setting I bought.
So I was running the Temple of Tomb of Annihilation. Started in COVID time. Started doing it then, and I had based all the characters in Waterdeep first and brought them to the tomb to kind of go through there. And so we were at the very end of the module. There's supposed to be someone underneath a tarp, and that person underneath the tarp is supposed to be an NPC they had interacted with, and be like, oh, I'm surprised you're here. How did a Sararak get you down here? Blah blah blah. And I did not know any other character by name to put there for them. So I said the first character that came to mind, which was Volo. And so Volo was there, and the thing is the players did not know that it was Volo there until they had stabbed the thing under the tarp to death. So my players killed Volo, and I'm very sorry, and I just need to apologize. It's been
I'm
weighing on me.
sure he deserved it. Okay. Volo, I don't have a lot of attachment for. What we were doing is I was asked to write what became the Volo's Guides. And I said, we have a problem here, guys. You're asking me to cover, after we did Waterdeep, that book, you're asking me to cover way too much stuff. Like all of the North or all of the Sword Coast. I can't do it in this word count without turning it into a AAA triptych.
Mm-hmm.
Ypsilanti. Ypsilanti is named for a general. This is its population. Goodbye. That's not enough about Ypsilanti. So I need to have somebody who can get thrown out of places so we don't have to put them in the book.
Yeah.
Like they get one page. Number one. And number two, Elminster knows too much. I need a even more unreliable narrator. I need somebody who lies a lot, which also gives the DM fiat to change everything. What, you believe what Volo said? So I said, we need a fop who's a bit of an asshole and lies a lot, sort of like you're one of the many characters of European myth, Teal and so on, who tells untruths. Jeff Grubb said, "Okay, Volo," and he was naming it after the Volo Bog, which is south of Lake Geneva. And there is actually now an incorporated or unincorporated community of Volo. So if you drive up there, there's a giant water tower with Volo on it, which sure didn't exist back then. And I changed Volo to Volo Thamp Gedar. They gave him a background and so on. And in a long ago Realms Lore video that I shoved up on I actually told his backstory, finally. But I'm not as attached to him. It was just that we needed a really unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
For that best-selling series of books, which they couldn't wait to kill because Random House said, "These are a different size than all your other books. These are like books, not like crazy game books. Do away with them."
We were talking a lot about monsters in the previous podcast episode. This is the second week that it comes out. We were talking a lot about monsters. And you've talked a lot on other interviews that you've had about how one of the first things you sent into Dragon was the Cursed. And they gave you like $25, I think, for it. So you were like, "Oh, free money." And you sent in the Crawling Claw, which I believe is Jay's monster of choice.
Oh, it's my favorite monster of all time.
Yeah. And then you always say in the interviews that you sent in 8 more. But you've never said what those 8 more were. Do you remember what those 8 more were? And also, like, a kind of follow-up question, what is your favorite monster that you've ever submitted?
Ooh, I don't think I have a favorite monster. They're all different. It's challenge of the week sort of thing. You're trying to come up with different things for your player characters. That huge pile of monsters, they sat on for a bit, and then in Dragon 41, they published a whole bunch of them at once to get the pile down.
Dan, find Dragon 41 real quick on your bookshelf.
So, I mean, that's what most of them were, but I was just flying by then because I sent the Cursed in and they published it right away. And that was Dragon's Bestiary, which was the successor to Featured Creature. And it said right at the bottom, "What appears on these pages is official as anything that's in the monster manual. And we will pay $25 American dollars for the blah, 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 blah," which is a lot of money.
At that time in Canadian, it was like 75.
No. In 1972, our dollar was worth $1.50 more than yours. So it went up and down. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going to Canada with like my $20 and going, "I got 30 now."
Yeah, exactly. I usually would go a little further, but they published me, and I thought, this is great. So I wrote up the Crawling Claw. I sent it off by mail. Remember, this is before internet, before pixels.
Yeah.
I sent it off by mail. 16 days later, my issue of Dragon came back to me in my mailbox, and it had my second monster in it. And I said, "They're desperate."
Yeah.
And the monster in between had been something called the Slinger. And the Slinger was a lizard made by Jake. And Jake was the editor of Dragon. So I concluded nobody sent them anything. They had nothing. So I could get all my monsters published. And the reason I wanted to get my monsters published was fair to my players, Dragon, in those days. But they didn't bring the issues to the gaming table. So what I remember up here about the monster is what their player character may have heard in a tavern or whatever. But they don't have the thing in front of them that says, "Oh, it's got 3+3 hit dice. We yell Thursday and it falls over dead." They didn't have that in front of them to consult. But I felt it was fair as a dungeon master if it's been published and it's official, so somebody else has, quote, vetted it for game balance, and everybody's seen it, then I feel a little better about throwing it at them. So I wrote up a bunch of monsters and sent them off. And it was like, gosh, this is easy. This publishing thing is so easy. And that story I told earlier about contributing editor, what Kim amplified after he said, when I said, how much do you get paid? And he says, that's the contributing part. He said, look, there are people who've been sending in articles for years. They can't write. I don't have the time to rewrite their article. They're going to be really pissed off. They keep seeing your byline over and over and over again. And if I make you a contributing editor, they'll go, oh, he's on staff. Okay. They'll bitch and moan and grumble, but they won't get out to pitchforks.
So, Dan, did you find Dragon 8 41 yet? What are those monsters?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
So
actually, it's the Tomb Tapper, which I used whenever I ran Rime with the Frost Maiden.
You sure did
last year. Beat the living piss out of our party.
Yeah, you jerk.
The other monster that was in there was by Tom Moldvay, Silky.
Oh, so that wasn't the one with the huge pile of monsters. Oh dear.
This one was just 2 monsters that.
Okay, then I got the issue wrong. It's around.
I mean, we'll let it slip. I mean, it was 40 years ago.
It was a long time ago, and I'm an old man. I forget these things. But yeah, the Tomb Tapper was fun because I'd always wanted a monster with the mouth in its belly.
Yeah.
The miniature they put out a couple of years ago for it is actually really cool looking. It has the big old mouth. It is creepy as all. And
I get me one of those.
Yeah, you do. I'll send you one.
No. Half the fun is tracking these things down.
That's true.
That is true. Yeah.
I love the art they threw in there for it. It's kind of this blue line art. It looks like it does look like maybe they threw it together in less than a week. Like I don't know.
I think that I can't remember if that's mine or not. You see, a lot of the early art is mine, just blown up.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
That's awesome.
I would draw the things like the crawling claw. That art I drew at the size of an American postage stamp.
Oh wow!
Because I'd worked
like in the
out,
corner of your stats.
Well, because I'd worked out how much words would fit on the page.
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing they would just reset the typeface.
It very well might be, Ed, because actually you said that you were a contributing editor. Actually, at the beginning of this issue, it says you are a contributing artist.
Yep. So I did the Tomb Tapper. if you look at the illustration, there'll be an EG worked into it somewhere, amongst all the pointillism and shading. You'll see an E and a G in a descending diagonal. So the E is upper left and the G is lower right. Sorry, I'm doing that the wrong way around for you guys. But it'll be you'll be able to find it in there somewhere.
That's interesting.
That's
because for one of them, and I think again it's the crawling claw, I did it very subtly in the illustration. And somebody thought I'd done it too subtly, and they just wrote EG at the bottom. I thought, ugh. But anyway, all the one I'm really proud of, the art, the Gond, is the illustration was the lizard diving down on the player characters, and there's 2 adventurers. You just see their head and shoulders, and they're looking up. And I thought I got the art really well on that, which I did by studying all the stuff John Buscema was doing for Marvel at the time. Going, I can do that. Well, I can. It just takes me like 3 days to get half a panel out. And these guys had to do 17 pages a month to keep their jobs at Marvel. And it's like, okay, art is not for me. I can do it at the black and white pointillism line. I can do that, but I'm not good enough. And of course, what Malcolm Gladwell would tell me is I needed to spend 50,000 hours doing it. Then I'd either commit suicide or be good at it.
Oh, I remember the Gond. Those were neat.
Anyway,
So you, so not only you're a writer, now I know you're an artist, which I don't think I've heard you mention at all in any podcast before.
You heard it here first.
I heard it here first.
I'm an artiste. No.
I do want to kind of. I remember in one interview you had, you mentioned too that like everyone else in your family sings, and you didn't get the vocals, but you still sang at church and everything like
Oh,
that.
okay. My vocal cords have been operated on, so I've lost my
Yeah.
voice. And then when I had my heart surgery, they cut you down the center and open you up like a rack of lamb. So my diaphragm's been cut. So
Oh.
I have no voice left anymore. But I could sing, but I
Mhm.
didn't have perfect pitch. Everybody else in the family had perfect pitch. I sang like Monty Python sings. I would listen to somebody and mimic them perfectly.
Ooh.
So if I was standing between my dad, who was a brilliant singer, and he was so good that if somebody in the choir started drifting flat or sharp, he would drop into their voice, even if it was soprano or alto, and sing it in their ear to bring them back up on key and then go back into a bass. And Mr. Ward, who was a deep bass on, so I stood between them and I just listened and sang the exact same notes. And the reason my dad wanted me in the choir, despite my lack of pitch, basses, their vocal cords shrink as they get older. So all basses, deep basses, become baritones.
Mm-hmm.
I was then young. I'm not anymore, obviously. So I'm now a baritone. But in those days, I could get way down there. And what my dad would do was train me by putting on Paul Robeson records and going, oh. He'd say, sing that note. Now sing it loud. Bring me the volume. Bring me the volume. Blow me out of the house with that volume. Because he couldn't do it anymore, and he needed me to provide those notes in the church choir. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was literally mimicking it, and my father would strangulatedly go down in my ear and go, note, and I would just give him the note, and he was, thank you. I was like the chord. And so when you're playing bagpipes, everybody's playing the chanter. I was the chord.
I know you've talked about your dad a lot on different interviews and stuff like that, and you talk about your dad's library and all the pulp magazines and books that he had. Do you still have any of his books at all, or any of his
I
massive
have one
library?
or two. I have one or two. Various people were encouraged to take away books well after he was no longer with us because the house was full of them. I lived the farthest away and I got there the latest. So the first edition Lord of the Rings vanished off the shelf before
I was going to ask about that. I was going to ask about that one. Like, what happened to the first edition Lord of the Rings?
None of us know because it wasn't a family member. It must have been a friend. Yeah,
the
but
worst.
Okay, my dad, as I've said before, built bookshelves to cram in the most. They were height of the books.
Yeah.
Determined what books. So, The High White Forest, a novel by Ralph Allen about the Battle of the Bulge, and The Robe by Lloyd C. Douglas, which is, about Christ, flanked Lord of the Rings because they were the same height. And this was the original first printing. So if you open it, maps, the end paper maps are protected by tissue paper that's been bound into the book to protect them.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, it's that era. George Allen and when the original hardcovers. But I've seen those original hardcovers so many times, and I have so many different editions of Lord of the Rings because that was the era in which everybody and their maiden aunt put out leather-bound, gilt edges, little red cloth bookmarks. You could buy the Lord of the Rings over and over and over again in acid-free paper, and so I did. Well, they're somewhere. Probably most of them in the either downstairs in the library or out in the container, the main container, the 80-footer.
Okay.
I have 3 containers.
Wow. So like I mentioned, I think it was off the podcast. I mentioned my uncle. He had massive amount of books, and he had to move in with my father at one point in time, and they filled something like 2 or 3 like just metal containers just full of his books. And it was an insane amount. Like we had to move him out of his house. It was just boxes of books after boxes of books after boxes of books, and he had read and cataloged. Yeah,
that's my office, not my library.
Yeah, for everyone, if you've ever seen any of Ed's video interviews at all. Like he just gestured to his massive library.
Yeah.
So I definitely can understand that. Like, so what is your like most prized book that you have in your library collection?
Hmm.
And more so, which ones do you like to go back and read?
I reread Harry Pratchett's Discworld books a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I
Nice.
reread N. Aronovich's Peter Grant Rivers of London novels a lot because they're good company.
Mhm.
My friend Roger Zelazny, I read his books a lot. Julian May's Saga of Pliocene Exile, I reread a lot. And then there are individual books of all sorts in fantasy. Face in the Frost by John Bellairs. Um, there are other sorts of books. There's a thriller by Dean Ing called The Ransom of Black Stealth 1. Black Stealth 1 is a stealth aircraft in modern days and how it's stolen. And
Ooh.
I reread books like that just because of I love them or individual scenes are very well done. There is a marvelous book called School of Magics by Carolyn Severmer, and the protagonist, the gal the story's about, has been sent to a ladies' boarding school. This is a fantasy version of Victorian times, okay, in our fantasy Europe. She's been sent there by her uncle, who is ruling as regent and doing all sorts of things that she wouldn't do. And one of the things he did was raise all the taxes and take people's livelihoods away from them, so he owned their land. And they were now tenant farmers instead of the owners. And she confronts him over that when she gets to the age, and there's this marvelous little scene where, well, if you wanted to do that, he says to her, you could have just done it. Meaning she's the ruler, she's the Duchess of Galazon, she can do as she pleases.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks him in the eye and says, no, uncle, I couldn't. I couldn't. Meaning, you might have done it, you asshole, but I can't. And there's lovely little scenes in books where people take a moral stand. There's a lovely 2-book set that won awards by Robin McKinley, The Blue Sword and The Hero and the Crown. And the young princess in The Hero of the Crown has become a goddess by the time of The Blue Sword. And again, they're coming-of-age stories, and you read about them, and it's like a person who is unsure of themselves and young becomes a hero in front of your eyes. And then there are books that are badly written, but I love them. E. Doc Smith's The Lensman series, which is just about the square-jawed, strong Americans conquering the galaxy with fleets of spaceships and blowing all these nasty aliens out of the water for truth, justice, and the galactic way. By the time that, but the writing, particularly the love scenes, is so bad that it makes you cringe. But it's full of the sense of wonder that space opera. You know, and it was so inspiring that during the Great Depression in the United States of America, they published these books leather bound, like republished them. They'd been in the science fiction pulp magazines, and they called them The History of Civilization, and they sold out during the Depression.
Wow.
That's
because they are a series of hope. You read the books and we can do anything. It's the same thing that Star Trek, and kids these days don't realize it, how uplifting Star Trek was at the time, because we were in Cold War. Everybody was wondering if Russia and the United States were going to blow each other up. And what Star Trek told them is, no, we make friends with each other. There's a Russian guy on the crew, and we go out and conquer the stars. We have a future. We get over this. It's all going to be okay. Yeah. And so rereading scenes like that and books like that, and it's different for everybody. It's the books that spoke to you when you were a kid. Some of the Howard Conan stuff, some of Lynn Carter's books, some of which are, again, very badly written, but they hit me at the right time, so I love them. Yeah. And I reread them. And all the Saint books by Leslie Charteris, which is, this wisecracking asshole, who, Beats Up Gangsters. I love them. I have them all. One of the delights was collecting them all. And I'm surrounded by books I love. And people are writing new ones every day. And it's great. Jeff Smith writes the Bone cartoon series. I've got to have it, because I love it.
Yeah, I like Bone.
Yeah.
Do you being a librarian, probably the most powerful librarian to exist?
Ooh,
possibly.
don't tell my bosses that.
Do you organize your books at home, or are you just like, after working at the library, like, you know what, I'm not gonna. This stack of books here is just going to be the stack of books forever.
I organize them.
Question Wavels.
I organize them by size, like my dad
just like your
did.
father.
Because I have to. I don't have space. The pile you see behind me, these are books I don't yet have shelves built for.
Oh, wow.
So they're piled, they're waiting. This is just a corner of my office. This is not my library. So the books around me right now are a mix of, I have 2 IKEA CD holders, those sort of shelves, with paperbacks in them, ready copies of things I want to reread or check back on. So Lasny's Amber books, Lord of the Rings, stuff I might need to refer to. All around me here, where you can't see, is writer's reference books. What the name of a vambrace was in another language before it became a vambrace. Which part of this of the belladonna will kill you, that sort of stuff that I need for my writing that I might want to check, and all sorts of cute stuff. Like books about fictional series, like Sherlock Holmes London, and Sherlock Holmes London, by the way, is a beautiful photo book where somebody actually collected all the surviving photographs of pubs that are mentioned in Sherlock Holmes, newspaper offices. So when Conan Doyle was describing something in the book, this is what he knew as a person alive writing then. So this is what it looks like. So when you're putting it in your own Conan Holmes pastiche, rather, because it will be entirely out of canon in a few months, here's how to describe it correctly, because this was the real place. Kindly get it right. Because you don't want to be jarred out of something.
Right.
You don't want to have somebody say, well, George Washington wanted this, and somebody else say, George Washington had been dead for 120 years before that. You don't want to make errors you can avoid making. So you check things. And I have tons of really cool books, and you can just go through the really cool books and find out all sorts of cool stuff. Stuff that my grandparents knew because they grew up on a farm, but I don't know because I didn't grow up on a farm. What did you put on sheep's udders, to stop them being chafed horribly once you had mechanical milkers?
Vaseline?
I don't know, but my dad does.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. And all this stuff is lost as people die unless somebody writes it down.
Yeah, this is the internet before there was the internet to you youngsters out there.
Yeah, and there are books like The Swiss Family Robinson is a terribly written book. It's full of, as you know, writing, as in, Father, how is it that with our combined strength we can move this huge log? Well, son, and then a half-page lecture. And you go, oh God, the writing is wretchedly bad. But what they're doing is setting down on paper how to do something. So, if the world goes into, crisis tomorrow and you have to cut your own firewood and move the log out of the forest and you have Swiss Family Robinson, you read it, oh, I know how to do it now. So I've got books like that all around me. And I delve into them all the time and find out all sorts of things, some of which I'm supposed to know. And wow,
I have a few of those, but not enough. I'm always looking to add stuff like that to my collection.
That's the thing. You spend your entire life collecting stuff that somebody will probably burn when you die. But until then, tell that
it is mine.
Yes, you see the planet's turning, and I'm going to push it that far that way. I did that.
just out of morbid curiosity, I opened up ChatGPT and said, "Hey, what do you put on sheep udders to stop chafing from a mechanical milk machine?" And it goes, if your sheep udders, or more specifically, the teats, are chafing from the mechanical milking machine, the cause is most often a combination of vacuum settings, liner fit, milking time, and other skin conditions.
That's right. Now, what do you put on them?
Yeah.
You didn't know,
See,
did it?
See, it gave you
The answer's
nothing
Gold
but
Bond, buddy.
somebody, but like
No,
yeah, somebody that did
did.
it, my dad or somebody would have answered it way faster and already had
Yeah.
it done by the time you type that in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So I'm glad I still Dan's question.
Oh,
about the
and
books.
there's a book right above me now called Snark, and several others over there that tell you when swear words and nasty words for euphemisms for
Mhm.
genitalia and so on, and what you were going to describe a man or a woman of low repute, when those words came into use and where, so you don't
that's
use
cool.
the wrong cuss word in your historical.
That's cool.
My wife is a big fan of yours, and she has been reading your books, and it's what got her into fantasy. When she started becoming a nerd. You signed her book that won Gary Con, so thank you very much for that. She wanted to say thank you as well.
My pleasure.
She
Thank you for buying it.
she wanted to know from you specifically, where do you get all your names from? Like, where do you pull them out? Like, you have a lot of very creative names, and you just
it's
kind of
so
struck
hard.
all these books. Like,
I open my
can't-
head, reach in, and there they are. No. Okay,
I
here's the thing. Some people are good at making up names, and others
Yeah.
aren't. I seem to have a knack for making up names. Here are two things you can do. One which I wish parents would do before they send their kids out into the world. Say her name out loud. What are school kids in the schoolyard going to mangle it into and make your kid miserable?
Yep.
Yeah.
Change it until they can't. Number one. Number two, something that you can do that I could never do when I was making up. Go on the internet, type the name in, and make sure it doesn't mean anus in some language. Okay? Because that would be really kind to your kid or your character. It was give your character. Now, you can do Victorian names, which Terry Pratchett increasingly did. Names that evoke what the character is. Like in Going Postal, greedy guy was Reacher Guilt,
Mhm.
because he's after the money.
Yeah.
And you can, and many Victorian authors had names like that sort of tipped you off as to what it is. It's like the soundtrack in a movie telling you, be sad now, be frightened now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a
Funny time
literary
now.
shortcut.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know when you see the name, I know what this guy is.
Yeah. But one of the things I do is I write up a name. And in fact, this afternoon when I was answering a Realms Lore question, I had to come up with about 60 names over an hour
Nice.
to fill in details of noble families of Cormier. And I would just type them and say, how does that look?
Yeah.
Does it sound when I sound it out? Okay, it's acceptable and I can use it, or I move on. And I just seem to have a knack for it. So it sounds like a flippant answer when I pull open the top of my head, reach in, and there it is. But no, the names just come to me. And
That's fair.
the danger is don't reuse them too often in the wrong
Yeah.
place. Now, I had fights with TSR about that because they didn't want anybody to have the same name as anybody else to dispel confusion. And I said to them, how many people in the world are named John?
About
More
7.
than one, right?
Yeah, just
And
about
then
7.
Yeah, and they allowed me to have Torm the Thief and Torm the God.
Mhm.
But I had a big fight about it. And I won the fight because it was recently enough from the assassination of JFK. There were a ton of kids born in the United States who'd been named Kennedy as a second or third name by their parents in homage to the president that was lost. And I
Yeah.
said, how many Kennedys are there? And they got very quiet and they said, that's real world. And I said, and I want the realms to seem real. So that's why I'm doing this. And the other one, they didn't let me keep in print. I had a demon called Ashtaroth and a devil called Ashtaroth. So if you
And they're all
summon
mad
the
at each
wrong one, with the wrong ritual, it arrived
That's great.
uncontrolled. And they said,
I love
you
that.
can't do that to players. That's not fair. And I said, Tomb of Horrors is
Life
fair
isn't
now,
fair.
is it?
Yeah.
They said, that's
No.
scary.
Yeah, no, I like the touches like that. That does bring me to a question: is you have a lot of in-depth lore about the Forgotten Realms. Like I've watched some of the videos, and you can answer questions. And, like you talk about cuisine and clothing and like greeting customs or holidays and different places in the realms. If you're running a game, what do you think is the like I like having all that available, but what do you think is the line between, hey, this is an amount that makes the world feel alive versus this is noise to players that there's just too much?
Okay. If you're watching a movie, what's in there, what's not? One thing we can't do as Dungeon Masters, unless we're really good at our choice of words, is to sketch in everything you can see, because you'll slow the game to snail's pace. So what you're concentrating on is what people say and do around you. And again, because you have to describe everything, you can't show, you have to tell. So you can't do what really good actors can do when they aren't acting for the stage. Meaning somebody in the cheap seats way up there has to be able to see what they're doing. When they're acting for the camera, which is like 3 inches from their face, so they can let a single tear out, or they can do a hell with their eyes because they know it's going to get picked up. That's what you concentrate on at the table, because you want this to seem like a real situation. And then players fill in the detail. And if they ask you about anything, you need to be able to give them an answer right away that is logical, so that they do not break immersion. I mean, if it's a rules question, and we have a habit at our home realmsting, you can say player to player, ask me the chips, ask me the player's handbook, player to DM. I've lived here all my life. Have I ever seen this guy before? Have I ever seen that coat of arms before? I've lived here all my life. So you're asking an outside situation question. And we just get in the habit of, you stop saying player to player and player to DM. It's your tone of voice and the way you cock your head signals that you're stepping out of, the sandbox. The rest of the time, we speak as our character speaks. So no standing 3 feet from the orc discussing how you're going to take him down without the orc hearing you. What comes out of your mouth comes out of your character's mouth. And therefore, they do more and more acting at the table. Now, some people might find this incredibly boring because it can be 3 or 4 hours and we haven't drawn any weapons. And we're in the middle of a court intrigue and we're enthralled, but nothing's happening to the guy who wants a dungeon crawl. I haven't killed anything, and there's that famous line in Red where the former head, the Russian head, says, I haven't killed anyone in years. But again, it's all character development. It's making you feel that this is real and you're there. And they will fill in the rest of the story in their minds. The same way when we're reading, what are we actually reading? Here, I have a book right here. Andre Norton's The Zero Stone. We're reading little curved squiggles of ink on paper, and our minds are painting mental pictures and hearing the dialogue spoken and putting ourselves there and putting all the detail in. So your job as a dungeon master is just make it seem real and let it unfold. Don't worry about the lore. And then if somebody asks a follow-up question later, not at the gaming table, I would always provide it in full for my players. Like Ian Hunter, who played Lancerel Snowmantle the Druid, would have many Druid questions about this berry and this acorn and this leaf. And he wouldn't stop and slow down unless it was absolutely crucial to the action, like rowan tree and red thread stops a witch in all her speed. You know, is this a rowan tree? But if we weren't doing that, I would answer him out of play and make sure if it wasn't a private thing for that everybody else got the answer. Because the rest of the people might like to know about a rowan tree too. And then it seems more real, but it doesn't slow down play because it's not breaking up play. It's like, hey, this guy actually has this all worked out. Well, no, I don't. But it's the illusion of I have the whole world is real around you. And then you buy into the world. And then what your player characters do at the table matters more. In the same way that a young kid will come up to you at a convention and say, let me tell you about the time my characters killed Asmodeus. And your eyes glaze over. And if the person is perceptive, they go, oh, I guess you had to be there. That's right. You had to be there. You had to experience it too. Which is why when old men, and now increasingly old women, tell war stories from when they fought in the wars, they're alive again. It mattered. What they did mattered. Now they're old and half the people are dead. And maybe they got something wrong with them and they can't do it anymore. But they remember the time when they could. And the same way, if your player characters do things and it feels meaningful, even though it's imaginary, you didn't really save your buddy, carry him away from the dragon's jaws. It was just make-believe shared at the table, but it matters. Because your buddy knows they can rely on you. You will go into fire, dragon's fire, to rescue them. So now you're bonded a little bit more. It mattered. What you achieved mattered. And then if you write it out or tell it to somebody, well, no, my original Realms players are only 9th level after all these years. And they're not all rich, but it mattered. What they did feels like a real achievement to them.
Okay. So you started your original Realms game like in 1970, and they're just level 9 now.
They just hit name level. Yeah.
Well, you see, remember in the original D&D, you could go up to halfway up the next level, but until you got trained, you were pinned there no matter what you did.
Yeah.
Until you got trained, and finding tutors and paying them and arranging for them. And the tutors in my version of the Realms usually didn't want money. They wanted you to do something for them. Go and bring him back the golden apples. I'm too old. Across the mountains range. Go and bring me back and I'll teach you all you want to know, but I need those golden apples. Fuck, there goes another month.
Yeah. And in case anyone wants to know, the reason the way I set up this interview is I had a mail Ed 750 liters of Dr. Pepper Zero.
Is that what you said? The Dr.
That's how we
Pepper?
got it
Okay.
all.
Nice.
All right. So we're pushing towards an hour at this point on the second portion here. So we've been at this for a while. We should probably spend at least a few minutes talking about stuff that you're currently working on, if you want to.
Oh boy!
And then we have just a couple of other quick little things after that.
Okay, sure. So do you
yeah.
want me to just like roll out what I'm working on now?
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all very interested in Realms Bound and that Viking setting, which I can't remember for the life of me right now.
Okay. Okay, so let's do Vikings first. Because
Yeah,
I've been
Vikings.
it's been 4 years of my life so far. I'm still at work. I just had a chat with designer Andrew Vlakauskas of Fate of the Norns, which is the diceless role-playing Viking role-playing game that uses runes. And this edition of Fate of the Norns is Fate of the Norns Ragnarok. So we're in the middle of Ragnarok. The sun and moon have been devoured by celestial wolves. The world is dark and cold. It's not pitch dark because there's an Egyptian sun god still alive. So down on the horizon, there's just a little line of light. But it's too cold for crops to grow. So food prices are going up. And the end of the world is at hand if you're a Viking. If you're Celtic, it's the Celtic Twilight. And if you're a Fae, or Dvergar, this is all bullshit. and an excuse to extort the stupid humans and by raising the prices of everything. Anyway, but years and years ago, Andrew and I, who were at the same con, Fan Expo in up in Toronto at the time, were on a panel together, and he pitched me, why don't we write together Viking Rule Dublin, which really happened in around 790 AD. In the game, Andrews pushed it forward 100 years closer to us for his own purposes, and actually covers something, because the first Viking king to kill the first Hibernian king, future Irish, the Hibernians, was Sihtric Swaran. Sihtric Swaran was later pushed out, but came back again. He was king of Northumbria, and then he conquered again. And then his son ruled, so who had the same name. So there actually is a Sihtric Swaran on the throne 100 years later. But anyway, and this is a fantasy version of Dublin, but I've researched everything so that the names were all authentic. By the way, nobody had surnames back then. Whether you were Irish or Viking, you have matronyms and patronyms. Your name for the son of, now these surnames, they have become surnames. So if you meet somebody now who's Amundsen, it no longer means son of Amund. It is now a family name. But back then, your matronym and patronym was either you were the son or daughter of somebody, or you were foul farter or big nose, or if you ever see a woman described as ship prow, it means she had giant tits. But that's, but I mean, the matronym or patronym is descriptive. So if you want to use it for another fantasy setting, you're going to have to take that off. What makes Ascleath worth paying attention to, whether you play Fate of the Nords or not, is that it is the first time that somebody has detailed every single building in a city, and every single building, almost all of them, there are a few exceptions, but almost all of them have at least one NPC living there that is described. If they have a craft or skill, it's done in a percentage. So if they're a Fletcher who makes arrows, if they were a god of archery, they'd be 100%. If you've never made an arrow before, you're 0%. So if they're 70% or 75%, you know exactly how good they are. You can convert it to any game system without thinking about it. And then the person has a dirty secret, because you can blackmail this game, social combat. So if you know their dirty secret, you can try and compel them to do stuff. They have a proclivity, their aims and interests in life, what they're interested in, what turns them on, what they will agree to, whether they go along with adventuring. And they have characteristics, which is how to role play them. They have a high squeaky voice, they fart a lot, and they dry wash their hands all the time. Okay, so you get that for every character. So no longer you have to invent things frantically at the gaming table, so every third guard is called Bob, because you can't think up a new name. And you can steal entire city blocks and put them in Waterdeep, or the Free City of Greyhawk, or, you could just put them in your own campaign.
It sounds like the kind of level of detail that is ascribed to, like, City State of the Invincible Overlord, which was the big city.
Which is crazy. Now, there was going to be another big city from GUI Cube. In about 6 days, they're going to announce the Kickstarter for Drakenheim, which goes with Gloomport, and it's going to be the biggest fantasy city ever until, next Thursday when somebody else...
I remember as a young man getting City of Splendors and thinking that Waterdeep box set that had that huge map and went into a ton of detail about Waterdeep was a in-depth thing, an in-depth description and guide to a city.
They wouldn't let me do this level of detail in Waterdeep, which is why I agreed to work with Andrew. I wanted to do Waterdeep in that level of detail, and I sneak in and do it whenever I get the chance in an adventure or something.
Awesome.
So that's one thing.
Yeah, just real quick about the Waterdeep. I sometimes run a D&D live stream for the Grumpy Dungeon Masters, and my home campaign has basically just been Dragon Heist over and over and over again. I've been expanding it greatly from there and learning more about Waterdeep. And one of the cool things that I found was this interactive map. I think Dan may have sent it to me, where someone took like your old map of Waterdeep and put all the points of interest all throughout the map, and you can click on them and see everything. And like I was like, man, this is a lot of detailed work, you know.
It's really helpful for running a game if you have a computer sitting next to you and you have that
Yep.
available.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I have a lot of that up here. That's the.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, though. The reason people don't do this is it's a crazy waste of your time. I've spent 4 years so far on Athcliath, and what's in the box set? You get an overview book for the entire city, and then you get 1/3 of the city deep dive in full detail. I've just finished the second of the 3 parts of the city, which is High Streets. It hasn't been published yet. I'm now at work on the third one, New Coin. It'll be another 2 years before I'm done that, and then we will go to the 10th city outside the walls. So if you work out what I got paid per hour, it's probably about 2 cents an hour, 3 cents an hour. It's not worth it. But I'm doing it so that somebody has done it. So somebody can use this years from now when Andrew and I are both dead and gone, and who knows, Fate of the Norns may have vanished, but you can still use the city. So that's
These are
one
the
thing.
kind.
Yeah. If City State Invincible Overlords tells me anything, is that people do actually like stuff like that. That will find its audience, and people will delve into that for years to come.
Oh yeah,
Like those are the. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say this box set right now. Sorry, my camera has just died. Is £8, so don't drop it on your kid.
Oh,
And it costs $150 Canadian. I don't know what it costs in the States. So it's
$750.
It's a big ticket item. But as Andrew says, if you buy all the bits inside it individually, you're up at $400. The problem is it's $150, and that's a big ask for a lot of gamers. But anyway, that's one thing I'm working on.
Yep.
I'm also working on, I've just finished something with Elderbrain, Hungarian guys, who are doing Cthulhu-like fantasy setting. Ooh. So I did a horror one-shot. I think it's called The Coils of Copper. It is not published yet. I'm working on A Malady of Mimics, which is a sequel to A Trouble with Rats, or GUI Cube, which are these small starter modules. This will be a fun basic module that throws mimics at you until you're sick of them. And then, of course, the Realmsbound project. Now, what I'm doing for Realmsbound is basically writing the foreword and doing lore checks and lore contributions. It's being written by a whole bunch of people who love the Realms, including former Realms designers and authors like Eric Scott DeBee, Stephen Shand, George Krashos, Brian Cortijo, all sorts of people who've worked on the Realms in the past, and newcomers. And it is gorgeous. You get isometric maps. So if you go to they've published Arkandale out on the already, released it to the public for free as a sample, and it's as if you're a drone about 400 feet in the air at one end of Arkandale and looking down the length of the entire settlement, so you can see all the buildings standing up. So you have a map like that brings the place to life. Imagine all of the Dales covered like that. There'll be 4 books.
It's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, so 4 books per area. So the Dale Lands is the first area. You get an overview guide, which is the biggie. You get something called insights, because we can talk in puns, which brings ins all detailed for you. You get a Delves book, and then you get a full adventures book. So 4 books for each setting. And at Gen Con this year, there will be a Realmsbound seminar, and hopefully they will announce the next geographical area they're going to cover at that seminar.
And WotC won't touch it because it's not the Sword Coast.
Yeah, well,
I was happy to see the Dale Lands come back, because when I was young, that's what I grew up with, was the Dale Lands and Cormyr and the Moonsea, and that was the Forgotten Realms that I ran adventures for my friends in.
Yeah, Sword Coast was not a thing really back And I
Yeah.
also grew up in that day and age. My first introduction to D&D was actually the Gold Box series of floppy disk MS-DOS games and Pool of
Right.
Radiance.
Yeah.
So Pool of Radiance on the Moonsea, and the Zentarum were the big bad guys, and the Zentil Keep, and
Hillsfar, yeah.
Hillsfar, Time of Troubles, Curse of Azure Bonds. You end up in Cormyr
Master.
starting off. Yeah, Bullmaster. Yeah.
Yes, and I wrote a short story that's only in that computer box from, I think, Broderbund, where all the Knights of Mithrandir are galloping past you on their way to another adventure, and they're all handing this poor person teacups because they've finished their tea as they're riding, and they hand them the teacup and toss it.
Yep.
It's the little details that bring it to life, folks.
It is.
And in fact, the stuff they cut out of Spellfire was stuff that I put in, like, to make it more realistic. Nobody ever attacks the heroes when they're sleeping. So I had a scene where they were sleeping and they get attacked. Oh, you can't have that. That's not fair. And you have Chandril, this young teenage girl, traveling with all these guys. Where does she go to pee? He's not going to drop her dress in front of all of them, so she goes off into the bushes. The Zentarum are stalking these guys. They see that Chandril's separated, they attack. So they're going, Chandril! And she's going, in a minute! And then back down into the... Yeah, exactly. So, and they took that scene out, because you can't have that. And I said, why not? I'm trying to make it realistic here. I mean, I was putting stuff like that in to try and make the setting realistic, and they were pruning it out because, no, we have this code of ethics, code of conduct. And I said, man,
taking all the fun out of it.
Yeah, but and the same thing with sex scenes. I used to write them all, knowing they would take them out, because it made the story more realistic to me to write it straight through. And for one thing, that meant as an author, you didn't have people make impossible trips, like be over here when they wouldn't have had time to get over here. If you wrote the entire narrative and just edited out things, and you were being honest as a writer, in the same way that, say, Don Pendleton, who did the Executioner books, would actually work out his fights to make sure that some guy didn't fire 87 times without reloading his gun.
Yeah.
He would actually work out the run and fight scenes to make sure they made sense. They were realistic.
Like that scene in Tombstone when the head of the banditos comes out of the bar, starts shooting everywhere, like 700 shots.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to keep yourself honest. So I did all that, and then it was hilarious because in those days, TSR had a mainframe, and everybody worked on these terminals that fitted around your head like a scope, and it was a one piece. The monitor went down and became the keyboard. So they were all like little lemmings peering into the computer, and it couldn't print or do anything. It was a mainframe. Mm-hmm. So whenever any freelancer sent anything, the person unpacked their package and took it to the Mac room, where they had one Mac 2 hitched up to an image writer printer and a big box of fanfold paper, and they would print out this thing and take it to their cubicle to read. And my editrixes would go back to their cubicle with this stack of paper this thick, and they'd put their feet up on their desk, sit in their chair, and they could unfold the stack of onto their shins. So they'd have the manuscript on their lap, and as they read a page, it would, without ripping it, continuous fanfold, they're putting it on their shins. And they'd come to one of my sex scenes, and they'd tear along the perforation. Flip. Sex scene ends there. Tear along the perforation again. Then they put the two stacks aside, stand up on their chair in cubicle land, and read the sex scene aloud for everybody. And of course, the fun bit is they'd read it like a BBC announcer. So instead of reading it with the soft kittenist voices, or whatever, they'd be saying, "And the hot scent of her arousal." And they'd read this, and then they'd take the sex scene and put it in their knapsack and take it home.
I love the idea.
It reminds me of that, what is it, that video? It's Gilbert Godfrey wielding 50 Shades of Grey.
Yes! Yeah, sorry. You were saying you love the...
I love the idea that there is possibly somewhere a binder full of Ed
Oh, yes.
Greenwood
Of Ed
sex
Greenwood's
scenes.
smut.
all of the Forgotten Realms sex in one location.
Yeah.
You know,
hope-
somebody's posted on the fanfic site.
Yep.
It's
Well,
called
I
no,
do
I mean-
love that
elementsexscenes.com.
you just write out all of the stuff and say, "Hey, I wrote it all." They
Yep.
may have edited whatever you get to read, but I wrote
Yeah.
everything honestly, so it would be there,
Yes.
and there would, the connections are there.
Yeah, and what you have to realize is everything published by TSR is a work for hire. They can change every word that you write
Right.
if they want to. So they're going to tinker with everything, and they do.
Yeah.
But your job is to give them the best product for them to butcher. No, their best product to put in their hands, and then they will edit it down to what they can fit. You give them a quart, they have a pint pot. What do they cut out to make the quart fit in the pint pot is their job.
Yeah.
Your job is to make sure. It's like when the math teacher says, show your work. Don't just give me the answer. Show your work. I want to see how you got there. I was always showing my work to show you how it got there. So this is why the Zentrum didn't ambush them here, because they couldn't get there in time. See, I'm following them as well as
Yeah.
following the narrative voice.
Dan, was it you and Christian that had the story at the LARP where someone was trying to sneak up and assassinate somebody, and someone came out to the bush that they were hiding in and like took a whiz on them and went away?
Yep.
Or is that not you guys and probably someone more current?
I know this story.
Okay,
Yeah.
It wasn't my story. I don't know. Go ahead, Jay.
So
I know this story.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of stories of that happening at LARP, but essentially it was some elves were hunting necromancers, and the necromancers were in their cabin, and the elves decided to hide up underneath the porch. And they're just laying there for Lord knows how long. And then one of the necromancers, who had no idea they were there, walked over to the edge of the porch and took a whiz off right on the person.
Yep.
They can't move because then they give away their position and they lose the upcoming combat.
That would be cut out of any TSR-based novel.
Yes, it would, because it's against the code. Yeah.
But
Now that happens in
reality.
real life. Yeah, it happens in real life. When George
that was
W.
real
Bush-
life.
when George Bush Jr. was your president, he had a summit. I think it was a NATO summit in Muskoka, up in Ontario, in Canada, which is cottage country, and there was a golf course up there, and wealthy people could play on the golf course. And somebody hit a ball into the woods, surrounded by woods, and they went in to retrieve their ball and take a whiz. They're just unzipping when a man in a suit steps out from behind the tree, hands them their golf ball, and says, "I think you better turn around." Of course, it's Secret Service.
Yeah.
And they've got the perimeter around the summit, and these guys had no idea. But I gotta pee. And the Secret Service guy pointed at this spot on the ground, and the person peed. Well, he held the golf ball for the guy. Then he handed him his golf ball and said, "Zip up and go back there. Do not come back into the trees." Because the Secret Service was all there doing their perimeter, and he didn't want to reveal the fact that he was there, but he had to, because this guy walked straight in and started, Anyway, it does happen in real life.
So I'm wondering, Ed, for Souls of the Taking Book 2, can we expect someone pissing in the woods scene and assassins pop out at that time?
No.
Oh.
The problem with Souls for the Taking is we cannot publish something that is 20,000 words or longer of fiction. We have to stop at we have to stop at 19,999. And not a word longer, or we're breaking the terms of their agreement. Reese and I actually wrote something that's twice as long as what you read.
Okay.
And then I had a week to take a meat axe to it, get it down under the word count. Entire chapters had to go.
Oh.
And because of that, we will have to be very careful about what we put in book 2, which will take a while for reasons I cannot divulge at the moment. But you might find out at Gen Con, not from me. as to why there's a delay.
Okay.
Okay. But yes, there will be a book 2, and that will probably be the end of that series because a lot of people didn't really understand what it was and therefore didn't buy it. We can't do fiction that's long enough.
Right.
And so I had the brilliant idea, because I am brilliant, of mating fiction with game stuff that is in the fiction. Get a decent product that hopefully gamers would get something out of. And they did, but not enough of them were interested in buying it. So the publisher's going, we can put our time and it's usually our time because everybody involved is busy doing 40,000 things. Why don't we do this other thing that people want more? And I said, oh, good. Scratch and sniff centerfolds at last. And for some reason they said no.
Why does this smell like dragon butt?
Anyway, but yeah, there will be a Souls for Taking 2. It will not have a whimsical scene like that in it. It will have whimsical scenes involving hags.
That's good.
I'm sold on that.
I have a small amount of sympathy for the editors. I worked as a copy editor and then editor at a newspaper for a time, so I understand the war between the writer and the editor a bit.
Yeah, and newspapers is a special thing because if you do classical newspaper writing, important things goes at the beginning, then the next most important thing, and then because the end's going to get cut somewhere. Right. And I used to hate that when I was doing sports reporting because I would try and tell chronologically in a game, like a hockey game or a football match. Here's what happened. So-and-so did this, and then so-and-so did that. And everybody thought the game hung in the balance, but so-and-so did that. So I do it chronologically, and they go, no. And by the time they'd finished writing it, it was all out of order.
Yeah, there's an order of importance in newspapers. And if you're the front couple of pages, you've got your space, and after that, you get a limited amount of space. And if you're lucky, you might get a to be continued in a later section.
Yeah.
And it's all built around the ads that they have to put in, and then you've got
Bingo.
to fit in the space.
Just like I was writing for Dragon, it's around the ads. And actually, one of the things I had to do when in my brief journalistic career, because I took a degree in journalism, I took it in Toronto, where we had 3 dailies at the time, 3 English language dailies. There were another 8 or 9 different language small papers, but you would be tasked as a student from a university because they were understaffed, or somebody was sick, or somebody was out on maternity leave and hadn't been replaced, or somebody was a veteran journalist, which meant they were blind drunk under the table.
Yes.
You would write the entire section using different bylines in different styles. And there is a famous story. There's a magazine up in Canada called Maclean's. Back in the day, when it was a journal of record, and not the right-wing rag it is now, there was a back page panel. And Alan Fotheringham, who was then the columnist, wrote an obituary for his friend. His friend was this mild-mannered nerd who was a newspaper reporter who covered Democratic National Convention way back in the days. We're talking LBJ is leaving office, and they're having the convention, who's going to run for the Democrats. All of his friends from Canada were there, and they all worked for rival papers. They all got blind drunk because the Democrats lavished L's and booze on the journalists. Mm-hmm. He was a teetotaler. He wrote all of their columns and phoned them in from a phone booth, because that's how you filed in those days. No internet, no teleprinters from most places. He filed all of their columns from a phone booth, and he aped their style so well that their editors didn't know it wasn't them. He saved all their jobs. And when this guy died, that was the story that Alan Fotheringham wanted everybody to know. This guy saved 18, 20 people's jobs by writing all their reports from the convention in their style to fool their editors, and got away with it.
That's cool.
That's talent. That's talent.
That's talent. Yeah.
All right, so we're well over the hour at this point. We have a couple of quick things here at the end that we always like to do. So we told you about Craig before we started doing this recording thing, but we like to our guests to add a little more piece to his story. So he is an orc barbarian, has a girlfriend named Flicker that's a fairy, likes top shelf liquor, loves to collect sharp, pointy things, plays the drums. What else was it? Oh, yeah. And he has a bag of holding made out of an ogre's head that sometimes gives him what he's asking for. Add any other piece to Craig's lore that you want to.
I believe his charisma is also 20. Just that was someone that gave that to.
Yeah.
Okay, so he once came across a wizard who told him about ice cream. And he's been on a quest for ice cream ever since. And he also needs to know what the heck Tutti Frutti is. Or who the heck Tutti Frutti is. All he knows is ice cream has something to do with Tutti Frutti.
Oh, go ahead.
But it's better if you can get black cherry.
That's amazing.
Somehow he's going to come across the Little Richard song first before the ice cream.
Well,
He is a barbarian. Why wouldn't he?
I was actually thinking of the tavern that has the strippers out front. Now appearing, black cherry. Next week, Tutti Frutti. And he's going, I found it. And then when it starts on stage and the ladies are up there, he's going, so where does the ice cream come in? When do I get the ice cream? What is ice cream? Do you know what ice cream is? Tell me about ice cream.
Love it.
And the bouncers are closing in on him. Well, but he has a 20 charisma, so he can say, hey, fellas, I just wanted a little ice cream. And the bouncers say, so we all do, buddy. Come on. It's gonna...
Ice cream works next week, buddy. You're too early. Fantastic. So for the last thing, we always like for our guests to give us a grumpy story, generally about dungeon mastering. But as we said before the podcast, it could be anything game related you want it to be.
Oh boy. I once ran Dungeons and Dragons for a bunch of guys who were brass in the military. This was a NATO force, so mixed countries, but they only understood one thing. If you remember your Alice's Restaurant Massacre, and him and the sergeant are jumping up and down going, kill, kill, kill. They thought it was in Waterdeep. And said, okay, you come out of the tavern, it's a busy street. There's a coach clopping past you with a bored-looking guy wrecking the coach. There's this pile of stuff on the back. There's people everywhere walking back and forth. Some of them are carrying what look like hams on these sticks that go over their shoulders, so they're balanced fore and aft. There's a couple of hams there. Okay, I kill him. He screams and collapses to the cobbles, blood spewing everywhere. Some lady screams and points at you and said, you killed that man, and flees toward, I kill her. And then they just started slaughtering their way down the street because they thought that's what this game is about. They got to that cart, and they jump up on the cart and kill the guy from behind. Then they jump forward and kill his beasts, and they fall into traces. And then they jump off them like Legolas in Lord of the Rings. You know what? Still only counts as one. And then they race down the street, sorting everybody in all directions. People stick their heads out to see what's going on. They chop them off. It's like, isn't that what this game is about? Don't we get experience for this? It's like, guys. And then one of them says, well, we got a hammer in our hand, so everything looks like a nail. Ha ha ha! And it's like, oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna throw the city watch at them. They're gonna be backed up by the watchful order of mages and protectors. I'm gonna start blowing these guys away just to teach them you don't behave like this in polite society.
Right.
And the guy says, who said this was fucking polite society? Kill, kill, kill. It was like, oh. And he says, well, we're having fun. We're letting off steam. That's what a game is about, right? I said, yeah, I guess it is. Last time I played with you guys,
Yeah.
but that's all they understood, and I was then like, I was getting ridiculous about it. I was having the ladies from the brothel come out and say, hi, do you like the look of these? Hi, killer. It was like, it didn't matter what I did. I had a little kid with.
So you're saying a bunch of military brass are just a bunch of murder hobos when they play?
Yeah, they were murder hobos, and it was like, so I had an officer of the watch come and try and give them orders. You down weapons now, stand down. We kill him. Okay, then.
Apparently, military brass did not understand the military.
Go, yeah. And it was like, oh, this is fun. And I was just like, you guys, you'd have so much fun if you just like role played.
Yeah.
You never got to the story.
One of the guys says, so you want us to be ham actors? F that. And on he went. It was like, okay. What are we going to do for the rest of the 3 hours? Let's drink. Yeah, okay, fine. We can do that.
It's like,
go back to the chat.
I was about to say, please tell me you led them to the yawning portal and they try to like mess with Durin.
No, I led them into a back alley where there were beholders everywhere.
Oh.
And
what alley is that in Waterdeep? What?
The way out of that alleyway was to go through a trapdoor into the sewers. So I put them up to their necks in human feces, and they waded through that till they got to this grating and realized they were trapped by the grating, and the feces were just piling up on them, and say, "This is no fun. This isn't fair." And then one of them said, "Are there any explosives around here?" And I said, "Well, considering the amount of saltpeter around here now, if you did an open flame," so they did.
Oh no.
Well, okay then.
That's a way to end the game.
Well, yeah, I was merciful. I shouldn't have been. Various of them went shooting out through trapdoors everywhere, propelled by the blast, partly maimed, landed in front of city watch officers, and various people said, they're the ones who were doing it all. So they got arrested. And then they got taken to Castle Waterdeep and they got healed. And then I started a courtroom scene where they were being questioned. Then we ran out of time, mercifully. But it was like, I felt grumpy after that. It's like, guys, play along. This is your one chance where you get to do anything in a game, but you have to act as your characters. What's on your character sheets? Bunch of numbers. No. The little thing where it says your back history and where you're from. Oh, F that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I'm a murder
Apparently
hobo.
what they read was murder.
Yes. A word that appeared nowhere on the
Right.
Well, so that explains the crater in South Ward. Okay, I understand that now. I gotta find this alley with the beholders, so I gotta figure that out.
That's not there anymore. I mean, the alleyway's there. The beholders are not there because the Xanathar.
One-time thing.
Yeah. And there was that's another thing they took out of it. They censored out of the realms. I couldn't have anything happen to sentient creatures that was considered bad. So because beholders are not only sentient, but ultra genius, super genius characters, you can't have a beholder restaurant where they cut beholders up and cook them and serve them to you, because that's cannibalism. So they took that eatery that I'd written up and described and just sort of filed it in the circle file forever.
That sounds like something that would be in Men's Brands.
Your version of Waterdeep, man.
I plan to, trust me.
Yeah.
But like, you could get beholder stocks too in Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know.
Because computer studios can do just about anything they want.
Yeah.
Man,
it's the difference when you're writing a novel for TSR in the old days. You could only go this far. But the artist putting naked ladies on the covers could go this far. But you couldn't as a writer.
Fair enough.
There was a sliding scale of standard.
Sliding scale, yeah.
And there was a very good reason for that, because somebody at a pulpit could say, "You know what's in this book? I will read it to you now," and then read out something.
Yeah,
They can't do that with a piece of art. They can just wave it, and only the people in the front row can see it because it's so tiny.
I did. We've reached the end. I got one quick last question for you. This was a rules question that kind of came up as a discussion at our Adventures League games.
Oh no!
No! Why?
No.
Yes.
I must drink now. I must.
Yeah.
drink.
Yes.
Yeah, drink something heavier.
So gunpowder doesn't work in the Forgotten Realms, from
that's fine.
my understanding, because the clerics of Gon were experimenting with gunpowder. He deemed it too dangerous and had Mistros set into the weave that gunpowder does not work at the chemical level. I believe you explained that in Realms.
Yep.
So the question that was posed to me is, what other fundamental things that we understand in our reality doesn't also work in the Forgotten Realms? Specifically, the question that it came around was the Pythagorean theorem. Because whenever a monster flies up in the sky, it's still 60 feet away and can get hit. No one ever calculates that c squared from the a squared plus b squared. Or, so like, has that been also just like removed from the realms? Or does that actually still need to happen and be calculated?
It still needs to happen and be calculated, at least in my game.
Okay, fair enough.
Many things happen in the games for plot reasons. As in Elminster has plot armor or whatever, and the rule of cool, I think, is what they call it. If your player suggests that his or her character does something sufficiently cool, you let it happen because they thought of it, and that is cool, and you'll be making a memorable game. Just don't allow them to use that as a loophole to run roughshod over everything, because that wouldn't be cool. And because it would then lose what I said earlier about it mattering, because you really achieve something. You make it too easy, doesn't matter anymore. Oh yeah, we kill them and go on.
Yeah.
Instead of no, I one had a wife and kids at home. Okay, I killed them too. It's like, okay then, you nice little psychopath. You don't want the game to encourage that. You want the game to encourage people making meaningful, moral life choices, and therefore remembering what they did at that play session because it mattered to them. They were the difference between this. They saved the village. They did what Patrick Stewart did in Excalibur. I saw what I saw. The boy drew the sword. A boy draws the sword, and the boy shall be king of all England. That was the prophecy, and he was devout, and he believed it. So therefore, if the world means anything at all, we follow the prophecy.
Yep.
And the other barons are going to fight him for it, and he knows that. His castle, and what is the next scene of the movie? His castle is under siege by all the other barons who want to kill him. So because he took a stance against what they wanted, and I don't want common sense rules to be set aside so that a victory is easier, but I do want inspiration and quick thinking and cool stuff to be rewarded. Bob Heinlein did it in a book years ago where somebody reached in and grabbed the monster's tongue and pulled him inside out from defeated him. It was like, that is so cool. We're doing that. That happened, even though it's not in the rule book, which is why you have a dungeon master, which is why most computer games are ultimately frustrating because they are limiting your choices by their nature because they can't do anything else,
Well, Ed, it's been an amazing experience to talk with you these past 2 hours and 2 podcast weeks. I can't thank you enough for doing this.
My pleasure.
I will send more Dr. Pepper, I swear.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I'll complete the contract, I swear.
Okay. Yeah. Well, send her up there with it. No, I'm going to sweeten the deal. The cameras are rolling. No,
Yeah,
there you go.
no. This is fine. I love doing this talking. Shutting me up is the problem, not the talking. So if you want to talk some other time about something else, give me a yell.
Yeah, we would love to
Absolutely.
have you back on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much again.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thank you.